You are listening to From There to Here, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. Hello, my name is Josh, and with me is
Justin.
Today we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 18, Rogue Planets. From Wikipedia, here is the plot synopsis. While exploring an uncharted planet, Enterprise crew members encounter a group of aliens who are hunting indigenous creatures for recreation. Also on IMDb, this is rated as 6.5 out of 10, so you know we're in for a real treat with this one. Well, we've already watched it, so we know we're not.
Right.
So what do you have on the trivia side, Justin?
Let's see. We have an original air date of March 20th, 2002, directed by Alan Croker, who I recognize that name from Deep Space Nine. And I do believe I read this little blip. This is blip.
You read this last week?
Yeah, I think this is from Wikipedia. The episode had a Nielsen rating of 3.3 and received generally negative reviews. But I do have a little thing in here. Let's see. Where is it? Dominic Keating said that it was a difficult shoot and conditions were unpleasant. Quote, "This planet has no light and we're in some dark, dingy forest. You turn on your torch, the flashlight, and you see all the particles in the air, and we're breathing it in 15 hours a day." So obviously he was not a fan of that.
Yeah, they were in some kind of enclosed stage set.
God knows what that stuff's made of, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the most non-episode we've watched, I think. This was harder to get through, I think, than Terra Nova. Because it was so dull.
It really was. You know, for an episode about hunting, it's like it takes half of the episode for anything to even happen.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything happens, but I know stuff is happening.
I know, but it felt like nothing was happening. Right. And it was so boring.
It was. And I was surprised at how boring it was.
I kept nodding off because I'm just like, nothing's happening.
Generally negative reviews, no kidding.
And of course it's dark, so there's nothing even
people
visually.
Who reviewed it probably didn't even make it past the first 10 minutes.
Gosh, it really was a dud.
No, it was. And let's just start with the science of it. You know, I don't know much. I know rogue planets are a thing. Their planets can break out from their stars and wander around. Well, when they're broken away from their host star, they're not receiving any heat to help the internal mechanisms of the planet.
That's true. That planet would be super cold.
Would it even have an atmosphere anymore? It would just drift away.
I can't speak to that, but it would definitely be cold.
Gravity holds an atmosphere in place.
The internal gravity of
but without
planet.
the heat,
it'd be frozen
of the host star. Yeah. What would?
Nothing. It'd be hot. It'd be cold. Really cold.
Yeah, do you remember in the Twilight Zone? They were drifting away, and it was.
Well, shoot, just look at Mars.
Well, sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's the next planet.
Well, looking at a planet that in the Twilight Zone that did have an atmosphere, and then it moved away, and it got really, really cold.
Yeah.
But without the heat from the sun.
That's a good point.
It just wouldn't. Yeah.
I wonder why they did that. They know better.
And you mentioned in the trivia portion you just read that. The moonlight. What moonlight? There would be no moonlight. There's no moon.
No, he was talking about torches. They're flashlights.
No, but there was moonlight when they went out.
There was moonlight.
I know it's something you have to
concede.
When they go into caves. There's light. You know, I get it, but it just really took me out of it. Because it's clearly moonlight and there's no moon. So.
However, to say something positive, that did lead to something that I liked, which I pointed out to you, which is. The exterior shots when they would show the Enterprise in orbit, it's not being lit by a star. So the ship itself is dark. It's only illuminated by its own light.
That looked neat.
Which looked neat. It kind of makes
there was a few other things from this episode that I liked. We'll get there. There's a few of them.
Yeah.
Well, we will get there. But to start off, the episode did start off with they're trying to be cute again. Yeah. Kind of like when they surprised Archer with, we found a Manshara-class planet in whatever episode that was. Was that Civilization?
Something, I don't know.
And they're hiding it from him. Now it's Trip is trying to take his picture, and Archer's posing in the captain's chair. And I guess Trip is like, I can't get it right. Everyone's going to see this. It's Starfleet Command. You better look right. It's like, okay.
Star Trek has a
kind of
really
amusing
hard time
with humor.
Yeah. And I get it. They don't want to make the humor contemporary.
Did you think it was funny in TNG when Riker said, "Oh, somebody should make a record of this: a blind man teaching an android how to shave"? Right?
That's funny.
Was that funny?
I mean, that's funnier than this.
Okay.
But it's just like when they do romance, they try too hard, and I think it's just a thing that they're afraid to make the character seem modern or not professional in some way. And as a result, they end up very stilted. So even the humor is stilted usually. And
sure,
that situation, he goes way back with Archer. Trip does. Yeah. And he's just taking his friggin' picture. He could be like, hey, come on, man, just move to the right. Don't you want to look good? He could mess with him a little bit. He is a little bit, but at the same time, like, just go for it, man. Just have fun. No one's going to think less of you as a captain just because Trip is giving you a hard time about the picture. I don't know. That's just Star Trek. It's what they always do.
So after the opening, he doesn't get the picture, by the way. But
no, he did take one.
Oh, he did take one when he wasn't looking. That's right. Because they come upon that planet, that rogue planet.
Yeah.
And they go down, and that's when they come upon that hunting party. Where it's 3 guys. Is it 3 or 4? I've already forgotten.
3.
It's 3 guys who are all familiar. We all know from other things. Yeah. One of them from Deep Space Nine.
One from Deep Space Nine. One from Voyager.
From what was for the uniform? Was that the episode?
Oh, and then that guy for the So there's one from Voyager, 2 from Deep Space Nine. Then yeah.
So this hunting party is actually pretty friendly. Figure they're not going to be because don't they try to kill?
Well, at first they didn't.
Yeah, they don't know who they were. Yeah, right.
Sure.
But they actually turn out to be friendly. But of course, something's not quite right because we wouldn't have an episode. But it turns out they're hunting some kind of indigenous life form on this planet, and I guess being explorers, they're kind of interested.
Sure.
In it by that point.
Yeah, and they invite them to dinner.
Yeah, they talk, and there was a funny bit in there. You actually laughed when they had met up. I think they had met up with the hunting party at this point, or maybe they hadn't, but they're on the planet very early on, and Malcolm mentions he was an Eagle Scout, and then Archer says, "Oh, I was too. How many merit badges did you get? 28. You? 26. Well, that's pretty good, sir."
Not too shabby.
You thought that was funny.
That was a funny bit, because earlier in the episode,
what?
Malcolm is sort of taking the lead. And when they first hit ground on the planet, right. Malcolm says, I'll lead the way. He is the security officer, but Archer kind of taps.
Is he really security, or is he the armory officer?
I think that's their version of security. And,
okay.
When they hit ground, it's dark. They said something about the sensors not working right or something. And he says, I'll take the lead. I'll go. And Archer taps him on the shoulder. And he says, why don't you let me play captain for a while? And so there's a little bit of a weenie contest going on there. It's totally mild.
What kind
fun.
of contest?
A weenie contest.
A weenie. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's totally in fun,
Yeah.
And then the merit badge thing comes up, and that he bested Archer. That was actually kind of cute, kind of fun. Mm-hmm. I wish that led somewhere.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It was just a fun little bit, and I enjoyed that. That was probably the best part of the episode, right there.
Yeah, as for where it goes after that, it's really become hazy.
Because you and I just finished this.
I know.
And I couldn't tell you.
Usually, we don't do a quick turnaround. We'll do something in between the watching and the recording, but we just literally stopped it, and now we're recording, and the episode is already fading from memory.
I can't tell you right now.
No.
What these indigenous creature-y things were.
Okay, now
why the planet was rogue, I have no idea. I'm so it's
you're already losing it. You can't remember anything.
I don't remember. It was that dull.
Okay, let me get out as much as I can. Okay, so as they're talking to this hunting party, and they decide to join them on it for some reason. I think because they're interested and they make friends with them, and they sound like they're interested and they want to see what it's all about. That's when Archer first sees that woman.
Yeah.
He sees or he hears his name being called while he's sleeping. Jonathan. And he sees. Does he see her right away? Or does he just hear her voice?
No, he catches a glimpse of her. She runs off.
Right. So it's a blonde-haired woman, attractive, blue dress, very flowing blue dress. Of course, no right to be there.
Right.
Like, she's clearly out of place. Like, what is this person? He doesn't find out. He asks the hunting party what he saw, and they suggest something like they're aware of he's seeing things, like that this is normal. You see things here.
Yeah, I don't know if it's right away in that first time that they talk to him about it, but they do ultimately explain to him the creatures on this planet, they're basically telepathic, and they can get into your head, so they show you things.
Show you things.
Yeah.
So immediately the seed has been planted that these guys are up to no good. Like, something they're doing is bad, but they're not. Enterprise crew isn't convinced yet. Like, they're not sure what exactly is going on. All they've seen is a phantom.
Right. But in all fairness, in their natural form, these things are just big slugs.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Well, they can look like anything. That's what the woman said.
That's what, and Archer even says it. Or at some point in the episode, I mean, I'm totally paraphrasing it, but he says, hunting wild boar or whatever, that's one thing, but these are very sentient creatures or something. It's like, well, they're still kind of ugly bug creatures.
Right.
It's an ugly planet, a bug planet. And
a planet hostile.
And the only thing that's different about them is that, yes, they're smart enough to communicate, which, yeah, sure, you probably shouldn't be killing them. Mm-hmm. But these guys, to play devil's advocate, may not even know that. They
might not know.
I don't think they've ever talked to them.
I don't think Enterprise entertains the idea that they might not know.
Yeah, I get the feeling like these guys just... It's a challenge because these creatures have a defense mechanism that they can't, that make it hard to hunt. Yeah, so it's fun.
They're certainly aware that these creatures are, like you said, telepathic in some way, that they're responding to them in some way. But they don't seem to be conscious of the fact that they're sentient.
But at the same time, these guys aren't Neanderthals. I mean, they should know that if they can do that, they're probably intelligent.
Oh, yeah, by the way, we didn't mention, because this is a rogue planet, it's always dark.
Right.
So they're wearing infrared goggles all the time, which is kind of annoying. Like the hunting party has a full red visor that goes over their eyes. But the Enterprise crew, for some reason, they designed it to only go over one of their eyes. It's a green piece. They're
so bright. Like, you would never be able to see.
Plus, it gives you away completely.
I know. Like, they're so bright.
Yeah. But it only goes over one eye, which is incredibly nauseating.
Maybe
it's like, imagine looking through
techie.
Imagine looking through one binocular and the other eye you would get dizzy. You would throw up or something.
I know.
Maybe it looks good. Maybe they thought it looks good. Oh, we can't put it on both our eyes. We got to see the actors' faces.
Right.
Something like that. But anyway, I was about to ask you, do you remember where the episode went from there? I'm betting you don't.
Archer gets...
It's like a quiz.
Archer gets obsessed and he wants to find the girl.
He does, but is
he
obsessed at that point?
He is a little bit, because he keeps saying, this girl's familiar. I can't quite place it.
Right. That's right. That's important. He does feel like he knows her, but he doesn't know why.
He can't pin down. He just says there's something familiar about her.
Yeah.
And he's, committing time and resources to staying there to kind of unraveling this mystery.
And the crew, he's made the crew aware of this.
Yeah.
And this is the other funny bit. The other good bit.
In the tent?
In the tent with DePaul.
I don't think it's just funny. I think it's a good damn point.
Yeah, but it turned out to be funny.
Well,
she said, well, Captain, if it was a scantily clad man, would you be as interested? And he just basically doesn't say
anything because probably not.
Because it's true.
He might be like, hey, guys, now look, you're not going to hunt those guys, right? All right, we're leaving. Of course, because it's a girl.
If it was a fat guy, would you care?
Yeah. I mean, if it looked like Dom DeLuise, he wouldn't be all onto the mission here. Yeah. But well,
if I saw Dom DeLuise, I'd be like, why is Dom DeLuise here? This is a mystery. We got to figure this out.
Fair enough.
He died hundreds of years ago and he's here.
And he's still heavy.
That would have been a better episode.
Yeah, it would have been funny. When he showed up on Stargate, that was very funny.
Oh, he was in Stargate? Oh.
There was an episode, where because his son, one of his sons,
was
a regular director of Stargate SG-1.
Oh, no. His son was in Sequest.
That was the other son.
Yeah, okay.
Who also showed up in an episode of Stargate SG-1.
Okay.
But yes, that's how they got Don DeLuise to show up for an episode.
Okay.
And he absolutely steals the show. He's friggin' hilarious.
So, by this point, Archer is convinced that this woman is... He's talked to her at this point. Hasn't he talked to her? He does have a conversation with her.
I think so. And I do want to point out in that discussion, I think it's in that discussion. I don't know. It's all the same to me now. But I think it's in that discussion with DePaul.
Okay.
Where he tells a story. Is it in that part? Whatever.
Well,
he tells a story about the... Oh, no, he tells Trip. Whatever. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
He tells someone about the story, and he figures out that that's who this girl was.
Oh, no.
A poem.
That's at the end. That's at the end.
Okay, it's not at the...
That's like late third act. Well, you're way ahead.
Okay, but...
You're way ahead.
I'm making a point, though.
Okay, what's your point?
The point was, when he tells the story of the poem, someone asks, well, what happened to the guy? Because it was about a guy searching for this girl, right? And he goes, oh, well, he searched all of his life for her. Couldn't find her.
Yeah.
Kind of like Moby Dick, in a way.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's anticlimactic. Like, that's as if to say, this is your Captain Ahab, this is your whale. But
I'm not following.
Maybe that's because the episode didn't follow it. It sets up this notion, or after the fact, that this story came from this guy who was obsessed with this girl and chased. Well,
it was a poem by
a poem
by Yeats.
But the point is that obviously the illusion here is that Archer is the guy and he's chasing this girl. But in the poem, he chased her forever and ever, never found her, and all that. But this wasn't like Picard in First Contact, where he was going to sacrifice everything to hunt his whale, which is the queen. This was not. They weren't in any real danger. Like,
I don't know.
No one died.
I don't know if the Moby Dick analogy is really appropriate.
I felt like that's where that was.
I didn't get that impression.
Oh. Well,
I mean, maybe you're right. I mean,
maybe I was just trying to assign something interesting to this episode.
Well, by the time he brought that up to, it was Trip, by the way.
Okay.
By the time he brought that up to Trip, the poem, that he remembered what the poem was and where the woman came from, which is from the poem. I did not care anymore.
No,
I mean, when he mentioned it was a Yeats poem, I was like, okay, whatever, fine. I was like, it's just some childhood memory, and that's why it got pulled. It's like, when you have a dream, your mind is pulling from all the things your mind is collected from that day or that week and trying to make sense out of it. So it doesn't really matter anyway. It's a dream. It's vapor. But anyway, so to go back, the first conversation he has with her.
Back.
Yes. The first conversation he has with this woman before he knows what the situation is. It's on the planet, of course. And it's become quite obvious that this woman is attached to the planet in some way. And he asks who she is, and she says, "Oh, we are everything. We can be anything in the of the planet.
Right.
She refers to it as we. So there's more.
I think I fell asleep.
I think you were nodding off at this point, but she's referring to those creatures that they're hunting, that the hunters are the hunting party is hunting.
Yeah,
she is one of those creatures.
Yeah,
they are like her. They can become anything. Up at a point in the episode when they're running away from the hunting party, they turn into a branch or something like
tree.
That. Yeah. So she said that they can become anything, but their fear is what the hunters detect.
Right.
That's like some kind of signal, pheromone or something. And that's when they're able to pick it up. And when Enterprise, when Archer's the one that really is the only person that seems to care.
Yeah, no one is really interested.
No one's really interested in what's happening because she's only talking to Archer. Yeah. Everyone else doesn't really understand. Everyone else is just like, oh, this is just a hunting. They're just hunting. Whatever, no big deal. I mean, Archer tries to convince all of them on the bridge. You remember that scene when they're back in the ops section or the tactical section. And he's explaining the situation. Like, these are sentient creatures. This woman told me I'm not hallucinating. She's real. She's part of the planet like these other creatures, and these people are hunting them. And T'Pol says, they've been doing this for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
This is part of their thing.
Their business equals
their business. Why get involved? There's no point.
I know. She said, even if we stop them, more people are going to come.
Like, it's like T'Pol it's like a broken record. She's always saying, stop getting involved.
Yeah.
Stop getting involved in other people's things, man. That's all you guys do out here. You're sticking your nose in other people's business, and that's what's causing you to have problems all the time. Why don't you just stop? And they don't stop. They just
got punched in the nose for sticking my face in other people's business.
Sound like a country song. And like, that's basically all she ever says when this happens.
Right.
But they always ignore her and say, we're gonna do something about it.
Yeah.
So they do. Phlox, who's also at that meeting, says, oh, I think there's something that can be done. And because one of those hunters was attacked by that creature, he's able to analyze the wound and find out, well, if we do such and such with the such and such, we can make it so they can't be detected by the hunters anymore. And voila.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. And that's when Archer finally remembers where he knows her from.
Right.
And there's some kind of revelation when he's telling her, like, oh, I remember you from the poem finally. And she says, oh, now you know. I'm like, what does he know?
What does that mean?
I don't get it. What was the revelation?
There is none.
I don't understand.
There is none.
He seemed to think there was something, but I didn't get it. I was like, so he remembered a poem that he read when he was a kid, and you were the woman in the poem? What does that mean?
Well, to her, it doesn't mean anything. She pulled an image from his head.
But what does it even mean to him?
It was just something that...
Because she's reading his thoughts.
It was they said it in dialogue, I think, when he's talking to Trip. Or Trip says, well, you must have been thinking about that recently or something, so it was fresh on your mind or something like that.
Did they?
Yeah. Did
he say that?
It didn't mean anything. It just happened to be... I mean, she could have easily looked like his mother.
Yeah. I mean, that would have...
It didn't have any
been more interesting, at least.
It would have been.
Because, I mean... I was joking early on. I was like, this is like Event Horizon. And it kind of was. Like the Event Horizon, they got inside your head and projected somebody you knew.
Yeah.
That was a real person in Event Horizon, somebody that you actually knew. This was a fictional character he was imagining. And
I get it.
I was like, well, if the poem was really, really dear to him.
It didn't appear to be.
Maybe?
It's just something as a kid his mom would read to him so he could fall asleep. How engaging could it be?
Was that what it was?
Yes, he said that.
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah, well, when I woke up, he told that story.
When I woke up.
There was a number of times you looked over
picking on this episode
and said something to me, and you snapped me out of it.
Oh,
and I was
did
like, oh, yeah, that was good. I agree with you.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh, yep.
I didn't want you to know that I was nodding because it was so boring.
Well, in all fairness, before we started recording, you did tell me you did not sleep very well.
That's true. But I mean, like, we brought up Terra Nova at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
Terra Nova was at least interesting and was bad in interesting ways.
Yeah. And it was enjoyable in the sense that you're like, wow, they made that choice.
Really bad.
That's the choice they made.
I wonder how bad it's going to get from here. And it continued to get worse.
Yeah. So you could enjoy that. It just totally missed. Absolute dud.
Yeah, this is.
It wasn't even entertaining. Accidentally,
no. It was just boring. It was just boring.
None of their motivations made any sense. None of their actions led to anything of any relevance.
I'm gonna see what on IMDb what Terra Nova was rated.
Oh, okay.
And 6.5. This was also a 6.5.
That's fitting.
I don't know, man.
I would like to know what is the lowest rated Enterprise episode ever.
Well, maybe we should just leave that up to time.
His 6.5.
Give us some suspense.
That's lowest.
Clearly been the lowest we've come up so far. Don't look it up.
I'm not. I'm looking on Wikipedia to see if those have ratings. I don't think
Wikipedia rates them like that.
Yeah, I don't see anything like that. It's just funny.
So, I hate to say it, but yeah, this was probably. I called it a non-episode.
It is a non-episode.
Yeah, it was like you said. It feels like nothing is happening. I chuckled a few times, but it was just where did this go wrong? Where did this look good on paper? Like I'm confused.
These guys are going to keep coming back.
Was there a writer's strike? And they're like, we had this script sitting in a drawer, so I guess we have to do this one. I mean,
maybe
there was nothing. It was like a nothing burger of an episode. It was embarrassing. I felt bad for the actors.
It was like eating rice. It doesn't really fill you up. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, I mean, it'll keep you going for a little bit.
Yeah, it'll maintain you, but then as soon as you're kind of done, it burns itself up quickly.
And then the episode just ends. It was just over.
There's no real.
No.
Yes, they did whatever they did.
I don't know if the hunting party left or not. I can't remember.
Even if they did this time, more will come.
More will come back,
and they will find a way.
Well, they did. Because they taught the aliens how to elude them.
Yeah, but they're still there, so those guys are still going to come.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. You haven't really done anything. You just made it a little more
But,
difficult.
I hate to say it again and sound like a broken record like DePaul, but she's right. Why did they get involved? Just let them keep hunting these things.
Yeah.
Why? They've been doing it for generations. Like, they've really got to develop that primary directive.
And these things could totally kill them.
Yes. I mean, they were...
And that's something they don't really get across as far as that these hunters are in real danger. Because these guys can mask themselves and all this. Mm-hmm. They'd probably very easily kill these hunters.
Yeah, it's like this episode is a cross between Predator and Event Horizon, but much more boring.
With a dash of Solaris.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, Solaris was a planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point. So you put all those things in a blender and hit puree, and you get Rogue Planet.
and hit puree on neutral, and this is exactly what you get.
Oh man, yeah, it was vanilla.
Yeah, instead of blend, it's bland. Can you bland it all? Here
Bland it up.
Here's the bland version.
Yeah, I mean, you would think like the elements are there,
sure,
for a story that could have been interesting. I mean, maybe if.
Had it been
Archer was seeing somebody that actually was significant.
Yes, that would have at least had something, because he'd say...
And other members of the Enterprise crew were seeing people also.
Yeah, good Lord, give us something of substance.
Maybe they were like in Event Horizon, they were all seeing
something different.
Somebody telling them something, and they're all...
Yeah.
And so we get... It would be like, what's that the TOS episode where they're all hallucinating on the planet.
TOS? Oh, Shore Leave?
Shore Leave. They're all tripping out. It could be something like that, where they're all seeing something of their own.
Jimmy Boy!
Exactly.
Finnegan.
Maybe one of them does see a big rabbit, that kind of thing.
That was awesome.
That would have been more interesting. I mean, instead, we just... we got nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Like, not even the hunters were interesting.
No, and...
They had no character.
And here they have
They were all
this...
decent actors.
No,
but
of course. And here they have this environment where Trek never goes to, an all dark planet and all that.
Yeah, a rogue planet. Never
wasn't
done that
used at all.
No.
Like, why did they even bother doing that?
Why did it have to be a rogue planet?
It didn't. There's no reason for it.
It just could have been a planet.
It could, yeah, exactly. And they added all these textural details that amounted to nothing, just like the entirety of the episode.
The fact that it was rogue had nothing to do with anything.
It's like they looked at their board of ideas that they had and like, maybe we'll fit this into an episode and all that, and they realized we don't have much of a plot. Let's throw as much shit in here as we can.
Maybe they were just someone in the writer's room was watching the Discovery Channel and saw an episode about rogue planets, and like that would be a good title, Rogue Planet. What's it about? I don't know, just put it on the board for in case, break glass in case of an emergency episode.
Maybe this really was one of the writers their version of Event Horizon. Maybe that's exactly what this was, only with a Star Trek spin.
And much more lame.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Event Horizon isn't exactly, a great movie.
No, but it's not slow.
But at least it was trying.
And at least it gets your attention. Yes. It's not boring.
That first act of Event Horizon is good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's the best part, with the mystery.
And the part when Lawrence Fishburne says, "We're leaving." When he sees the log. Yeah, that part too. And like
I'm
this
coming,
episode,
baby bear.
And like this episode, Event Horizon had a lot of bad 90s CG.
Yeah.
Well, this was early 2000s, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was Rogue Planet. I've already started to forget.
It's
this one.
How ironic that you and I this morning
Yeah.
watched an episode of Voyager,
Voyager.
with a woman whose species made you forget.
Yeah.
This-
Listeners, it was unforgettable.
Yeah.
And that's about...
This episode
Yes.
I feel like it downloaded a program into my brain and is deleting its presence now that it's gone.
Yeah, like Virginia Madsen in that episode, we're going to lose the memories, and it's like it never happened.
Yeah.
We never watched it.
I'll never get that 45. I will never go back to that
I'm surprised
episode.
people even remembered it enough to rate it. That's how... Now I'm being too hard on it.
I mean, even the title last week, I thought this was a different episode.
I had a vague image in my mind of those hunters' masks in my mind, but I didn't really have an idea of what it was about. I knew it was dark. It was going to be dark on the planet, but that was about it.
Yeah.
And I know there's a stinker in season 3 that takes place on a planet. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a bad one.
I don't remember at all.
We got a while before we get there.
Yeah.
But, did you have any closing thoughts on Rogue Planet? Any more things you'd like to skewer?
Not really.
I give it. I do praise the actors for
there's nothing against the actors.
for doing their role.
Should we say
for giving it
a little piece of trivia that we looked up? We both thought that woman was familiar, and we looked her up.
Oh, right. The woman that Archer was seeing turned out to be
the con officer in Star Trek Insurrection.
Right. She was the Trill.
The Trill.
Yeah.
They kind of got
if you see it in your
girl
mind,
Woody when Riker said, "I'm going to shove it down the Sona's throat." She's like, "Yeah, you're a badass." You're like, "Yeah, that was really, really cool."
And then he grabs the joystick and
this is
fondles
his
it strangely.
and goes to play a airplane game or something.
Yeah, was that embarrassing?
God, that was just awkward.
I felt like, is this a joke?
Initiate manual steering column.
It's like,
turn left.
Are we playing Flight Simulator on the Enterprise? What is happening? What is going on in this world? Why is this called Rogue Planet?
I know, it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Would have been a more appropriate title for it. Rogue Planet had nothing to do with the plot.
It had nothing to do with the plot. What would a good title be?
Why not call it the name of the poem that he remembered it from? That would have made more sense.
King of the Wicker People.
King of the Wicker People. That would have made more sense.
Yeah, no. Whatever that poem name.
Yeah, the poem by Yeats.
That would have been interesting. That would have been an appropriate title, and then you'd wonder what it was.
Or the Woman in Blue.
Yeah.
Apparition.
Apparition. Yeah.
Something like that.
Who's that girl?
Yeah, who's that girl? Okay, well that's the title right there. All right. That's perfect. So, what's your grade? I'm really curious.
Do you remember what we graded
last week?
No. Terra Nova. Do you remember?
I think it was in the D territory. Okay. I think I was a bit more. I think maybe you were harsher on that one than I was.
Did we both do D's?
I think they were both D's.
Well, this is a D.
Just a straight D?
D minus.
D minus.
I mean, it
D
actually
minus.
put me to sleep.
Wow, D minus. Okay. I don't know if you went that low for Terra Nova.
At least Terra Nova had a discernible plot.
That's true.
This was vapor.
Yeah. I did remember Terra Nova enough to talk about it afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this was...
It had sunlight. It had things that kept me awake.
Yeah.
I mean, it... Yeah.
Well, because it was so ridiculous. Like, it stuck with you. Okay. You gave it a D minus?
D minus.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it a D minus too. I was going to say D, but because it was just so boring.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the worst sin, is when it's boring.
Yeah.
Like, the reason The Room is fun to watch is because it's bad in interesting ways.
Yes.
It's not boring if you're watching it with a friend and you're laughing at it. Oh God, this is so weird. Like Tommy Wiseau is so strange.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Mark.
I mean, look at Code of Honor in TNG, regarded as one of their worst episodes.
Yeah.
But damn if it isn't entertaining to watch.
Oh, it's entertaining.
Because
very entertaining.
of just how obvious so many of those things are and the over-the-top nature of things.
It's so goofy.
It's absolutely
They
entertaining.
literally roll out the red carpet for those guys.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
The
love it.
vaccine.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
great. It's great.
Oh, I know. I watch that episode whenever it's on. It always hooks me because it's fun. Mm-hmm. Say what you will about it. It's fun.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think we said this about Enterprise before. It has like a drab color palette.
It does.
And that does not help.
No.
Especially in an episode like this where you need something vibrant to keep your attention.
Well, yes. And the show, I think for almost its entire run, really struggles with Archer.
How so?
I think Archer, and I hate to say this because
Something about Scott Bakula?
we love Scott Bakula.
Okay.
It's not Bakula. It's the way Archer's written. He is really not a super interesting character compared to the other characters on the show. Mm-hmm. Trip has character for days. And as we're finding upon rewatch, so does Malcolm.
Her legs went on for days. Sorry.
Not here. In
Kansas.
But Archer is a very bland character. It's like the writers and producers could not decide, was he going to be more of a gung-ho cowboy? Was he going to be this? But instead they make him such a damn Boy Scout that he's boring.
An Eagle Scout.
He's an Eagle Scout, so he's boring. You know, Picard, for being a stiff Brit, was never boring. You know,
I hate to say that I think you're right, but Archer does get more interesting in later seasons.
What he does gets more interesting, but he is a character.
Yeah.
So whenever he's the central focus like this, I just they don't give him. They don't, like you said, that have this girl be someone from his past.
Right.
But no, nothing to have him go, oh, this is the one that got away or something like that. Nothing. They just gave his character nothing. No teeth. Nothing at all.
No grumba.
Right. He was dull.
Just all around.
For the bulk of the series, I mean, there was moments where he came out of his shell, but the best moments with Archer that I can think of are when he's,
I think when he has to go against his own morals, that happens.
Either that or when he, like in the episode with Malcolm, when they're on top of the ship and the Romulan ship keeps decloaking and all of that. Mm-hmm. Silent Enemy? No, it's not Silent Enemy. The one where
it's Minefield.
Yeah. Where they're talking about his command style and how he's more friendly, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But he's just so stilted. But there he's talking like a real person. Mm-hmm. And there you get to see Scott Bakula come out. Right. It's kind of like with Avery Brooks in the first 3 seasons of DS9. Like he's kind of he's kind of blank.
Well,
he doesn't have a lot.
Well, think about Scott Bakula.
Yeah.
When, of course, the thing we go to first is Quantum Leap.
Well, who wouldn't?
And he was a Boy Scout in that too.
He was.
But he was interesting.
He was, because he took a stance.
Well, plus he had Al. He had Dean Stockwell to bounce off of, who was his complete opposite. They were an odd couple.
Yes, that's true.
So,
but then they would find situations to put Sam in where something is overt right up against this Boy Scout, and then that becomes interesting. How long is it going to take for that Boy Scout to cave against the sexy girl, or something like that?
All the time.
No, I'm just giving a broad example.
Okay.
But Archer is very much like Sam Beckett. He just doesn't have the teeth that Sam Beckett did. Mm-hmm. Sam Beckett was he would leap into action quicker than Archer does. Mm-hmm. And as a result, it leaves Archer being kind of a dull character. Sam Beckett would call someone out right away being something.
Well, plus Sam always had to give up what he wanted for the greater good.
Sure.
Because he's leaping not for himself.
Well,
he wants to get home, but he always has to sacrifice something of himself, I think, to make that happen. And
there was not many instances when Sam would restrain himself. If there was something he was passionate about, he would say it or act.
Right.
And Archer is usually very restrained.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yes.
I mean, even something as simple, so many episodes ago when they were trying to figure out Malcolm's favorite food, you know.
That was Silent Enemy.
Right. At the very end, when he cuts him the cake and he just gives him a little pat on the back, and he's very stilted. It's
You
like
mean like his body movement was
yes,
stilted? Okay.
everything about him is so stilted.
Well, that...
And Scott Bakula can be a very charming guy. So it's not Bakula. It's the way they directed him, the way they wanted him to be. And like that's a perfect example. He spends this whole episode trying to get to the bottom of this thing, and at the end, he seems very ho-hum about it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, God, just light the guy up, grab him, give him a big hug.
Like, yeah, glad I figured that out.
Yeah, it's like
that was a mystery.
Exactly. So that's what Archer's like to me, and an episode like this really shines a light on it because he's just not very interesting.
Yeah, it's and I think we're hammering in here that it's not Scott Bakula.
Oh, of course not. Absolutely.
It's the way they're writing him and the way they're directing him.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I think you're kind of right there. I don't think it doesn't sink the show. It didn't help this episode.
I don't mean to imply that.
No. It didn't help this episode.
No,
but the series as a whole, no. There's certainly moments when he does work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess as a whole, I'd probably have to say, yeah, I think you're right, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, okay. That was a tangent.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how I got on that.
I think I already asked you if there's anything else you wanted to add, so I guess that's no. We both gave it a D-.
I've already lost the first 20 minutes. I'm losing it fast as far as what happened.
We both gave it a D-. So this is the lowest rating we've ever given.
Okay.
We have not given an F yet. I hope we don't ever get that far.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Guess we'll see.
We got a long way to go though. So, what's coming up next?
Acquisition.
Oh, Acquisition. Okay. Kind of remember that, so that's a good sign. Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the mechanics of the episode.
I don't either, but I remember enjoying it. I remember it being pleasant.
How could it
not just
not
pleasant,
be
but enjoyable.
with Ferengi?
Yeah.
Are they ever not fun? And at this point, Star Trek had really worked out the Ferengi. I mean, they know who the Ferengi are. So,
sure.
Have fun with them if you're going to put them on there.
Yeah. So I don't think I have anything else I want to add. I would like to recommend Time Trap. If you haven't seen the movie, it's excellent. It's streaming. You won't believe how good it is. Trust me.
Don't read the description.
Do not watch the trailer or read the description beforehand.
Just go in cold.
Go in cold. That's what I did.
Either one of those things.
That's what Justin told me to do. And that movie blew me away.
Yeah, either the description or the trailer will tell you way more than you need to know.
It's one of the most...
It's more fun to go in not knowing anything.
It's one of the most clever sci-fi premises I've seen in years.
Yeah,
it was great.
Very enjoyable. And largely no-name cast, and it was very engrossing, engaging, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, this is good branding on something positive.
Yeah, thank God. A movie with an actual plot.
Yes, and characters, that were in circumstances that you actually cared about. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I guess I'll see you in Acquisition.
Yes, sir.
So long.